Welcome to episode 414 of the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. I am Dave Deacon. Hot, dry weather with a few well-timed rain events can go a long way for the cotton crop across the southwest United States, especially in Oklahoma. Well, that's not necessarily what ag producers are getting so far this year, and it could mean a bumpy start to the cotton crop in our state. Today, we'll talk with Oklahoma State University Extension cotton specialist Dr. Jenny Dudak. She gives us a sneak peek into what to expect this season. We'll get to our chat with her in just a minute, but before we do, if you're new to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast, I would like to welcome you and invite you to hit that follow button where you get your podcasts. Also, we announced last week that we're going to be a part of the High Plains Journal Live, which is coming up in August at Century 2 Convention Center, just up the road in Wichita. Many of us have attended High Plains Journal events like Alfalfa U, Soil Health U, Cattle U, Row Crop U, Sorghum U, and Wheat U in the past. Well, High Plains Journal Live is kind of a blend of all of those in a 3-day event, coming up August 6th through the 8th. Of course, you can register at live.hpj.com, or we have a link to the High Plains Journal Live on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. We look forward to seeing you in Wichita, and while you're there, stop by, say hi, as we record a few episodes of the podcast from High Plains Journal Live. Now let's kick off the episode with a quick trip around the table for an introduction to the dream team of dirt and everything that grows from it. Let's start with Oklahoma State University Extension Precision Nutrient Management Specialist.
Like a demo is when you only have one company. A true variety trial has all the companies. And cotton, folks.
Dr. Brian Arnell. And next to him is Oklahoma State University Extension Cropping System Specialist.
It's got some cotton fibers with some western wheatgrass in there and stuff like that.
Dr. Josh Lofton. And across from him is a postdoctorate in the Plant and Soil Sciences Department at Oklahoma State.
I feel bad for the people who are going to have to relearn how to run a sand fighter in the future.
Dr. Radon Sherry. Now with all the formalities out of the way, we'll get to our chat with Dr. Jenny Dudak that we recorded just last Wednesday, June 4th, 2025, right after a crop update from Dr. Josh Lofton. You are listening to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast.
From a crop perspective, we look okay. We talked a little bit about the wheat. A lot of the wheat's kind of started to move towards harvest, probably a little bit later of a harvest than we probably thought we were going to have a couple of weeks ago. Still got a lot of wheat, hard dough, soft dough. I have some that have kind of, finished out. A lot of growers are still pulling the trigger on rolling up wheat, whether it's weedy conditions or, various other reasons, or maybe they cut a test little area and it wasn't pulling out the way that they wanted to. But I've seen a lot of hay go down the last couple of days driving around the state that I didn't expect. A lot of weedy looking wheat fields, but still some good potential on some of these fields around. So the unfortunate thing is we might be losing some of it to weeds and head sprout and stalk issues. That was a really good wheat crop. So hoping, we can get some dry spells here that we can get some of that weed out. The summer crops are probably about as mixed bag as you can get. Corn that got planted early looks
amazing,
pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Because it's gotten out of any saturated soils that we've had. It's got roots deeper than that, so it's just taking advantage of it from water. Everything else that gets planted a little bit later is probably, depending on where you are in the field and depending on where you are in the state, is really either a decent looking crop or a really, really rough stand. And a lot of growers are questioning pulling the trigger on a replant, and asking those questions, or maybe thinking, I put my money into this, maybe I'm just going to go to hay this summer, because it's kind of getting a little too late for my comfort. So there's some stuff over in eastern Oklahoma, Brian, that I don't think gone in. I don't think very much seed has gone in.
No,
so
they haven't got much of the corn in the ground. And much of the soybean. They got the corn in, the soybean's really not in, that should have been in. Transition to figure out what they're going to do. Kind of like what you said, and there's been conversations about, insurance dates, especially on crops like cotton. I've had a couple calls confirming insurance dates on cotton the last week. really trying to figure out what goes on. And along with that, so all these late plantings that we're looking at, not having full season in the ground by the time we're actually starting to call it what would be a double crop anyways. We've got a lot of wheat guys. My phone has just been ringing nonstop talking about, okay, I've got soil moisture, my wheat's going to come out one way or the other in the next week or two. I'm going to go down with the summer crop or with the double crop. I'm going to go sorghum. I'm going to go soy. What are my options as far as in-furrow or over the top? Those guys looking at it, Josh, and we talk about this every time. I'm going to bring it up again. What's those time frames? If I can get the wheat out next week, do I drop in with sorghum immediately? Do I wait a little bit? Same thing with soy or corn. Give us just a brief, the timing of what you would look at for that later plant.
The way that this year's gone, I drop in as soon as you can get equipment across. Because, the way this summer's gone, I don't, next week could turn. I mean, they've blew up social media about this being the wettest spot in the United States. Now, some people got the rain, we're recording here on Wednesday, so some people got the rain last night, and some people, like us here in Stillwater, completely whiffed on everything. So that 3 inches that they thought were going to come yesterday, it didn't really come. So, I mean, personally, I don't know if, one, you're going to be able to get equipment in the field, and two, if in 10 days or 15 days, maybe we've dried up and we don't have any moisture left.
Maybe so crusty you can't get the planter into the field.
So I would, if you get the opportunity, I'd just run. My biggest thing, and, our guest here can speak on it a little outside jurisdiction now, but this is the year that I would spend money on pre's and get a good long residual. I know a lot of guys don't like to put residuals down with wheat because they're worried about it getting activated and getting in. If you don't, I think this is the year you might get eaten alive by weeds. And that's a thing that even if the crop doesn't turn out, the crop turns out really well, you don't want to just put more seed in your seed bank kind of issue.
And that's an issue with double crop is we don't expect big, luscious crop to give a good shade out. So double crop's always fighting with more open space, more air, more sunlight hitting that ground. And weeds, if they're there, have that much more ability to take off. We don't get that canopy closure often in a double crop.
Well, and your in-season applications, you got a lot of herbicides that go off label as soon as you get a flower out. Well, in double crop, in soybean, you can get a flower within like 14 days of emergence. So, like, you have one in-season application then potentially. So, put it up front, put some residual down. I mean, maybe don't go whole hog like you would go during the full season, but, getting a good residual down. I always liked it when Todd was here. He gave you the Cadillac treatment, the poor man's treatment, and then about 2 options in between. Maybe those 2 options in between are your best ones this year because you need something going down to help protect against weeds. I'm
going to sideline and introduce our guest today because I have kind of going back to a wheat question I still think she can help out with. But Dr. Jenny Dudak, our cotton specialist, is on as our guest today. But Jenny's former life was weed science, and she was with Todd Bauman as a PhD. Jenny, what I want to bring up, talking about the double crop and herbicide, is wheat. Raiden and I are here. We've got some wheat ground that we're probably going to have to desiccate in one way or the other, just because we need to get out for trials, and so we're looking at. Can you discuss any of the options we have for that, or was that kind of outside?
Yeah, that was kind of outside my wheelhouse.
All right, so there are some things we could do. What you have to look at is always your harvest dates. I mean, we could do some desiccants. Josh, you've done a lot more desiccation, so you're talking like what are your salt desiccants that you've run?
I mean, you can run sodium chlorate. Usually is a really short turnaround. Usually doesn't have a whole lot of restrictions and stuff. Is typically, depending on the crop, about I don't want to give it less than a week harvest intervals, so you can go spray. The problem is in the conditions that we're in, and I know the humidity is high, really really high right now, but it might not be in a week or two. Is that when you put a desiccant on a crop, cotton's the same way. When you put a desiccant on a crop and it's time to harvest, it's time to harvest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you don't want to go across 1,000 acres and desiccate it, because you can desiccate it all in a really short time, but you ain't going to be able to harvest it in a really short time. So go baby steps, and Mother Nature might help you desiccate the rest of it, but go baby steps, go little bits at a time, especially in a year like this. We talked about double crop. I want to get it in as soon as possible. Those fields that you're going to do double crop, let's harvest those and go ahead and put the soybean in. Yep. Go put the sorghum in, and then Mother Nature might desiccate the rest of your wheat for you.
So let me go back to this. I'm actually not talking the wheat aspect. I'm talking the green weed aspect.
Dealing with the ryegrass.
The rye. So those things that we actually, there's some that will basically do a herbicide or desiccate down the weeds so you get better flow through on the combine.
I mean, there's several options for that, and it really just depends on how much you
read the label and know what you got.
Read the label. I'm not as familiar as those I am with sorghum and soybean desiccations, but I mean, read the label. There's options if you want to spend a lot of money or a little money. I mean, that especially in Oklahoma, even with our summer crops, the harvest efficiency is the best thing we use desiccation for. Plus, you're managing your weeds for next year, so that's always a really good thing, is to go ahead and get a little bit of weed control in, and then help out with the crop. Efficiency and cost and return on investment are going to be a question this year, though. Is, do we want to continue to farm a wheat crop that we're already at a set amount for?
Understood. I guess it's now time, since I introduced her, and then we kind of went sideways. Since we're kind of doing a crop report, Jenny, can you talk a little bit about what you've seen on the cotton side across the state?
Yes, yeah. So most of the dryland acres in southwest Oklahoma are in. I spoke with Maxwell Smith, who's our cotton IPM agent down there, and he gave me that report that most of the dryland acres, he saw folks out Monday and then yesterday as well. Running planters. Everything that's going to be replanted, probably as far as irrigated acres, probably already have. We do have some acres still kind of around the Ouachita County area that are still yet to go in. We've got a couple trials out there with a producer, and we're just kind of waiting on things to dry out, and that way we can get in the field and put our variety trials in there. But yeah, we're kind of moving along. It's just kind of trying to find those dry windows where you can get a planter in the field.
One of the things that I found with cotton is that, and I'd like you to explain it more, is that it seems like cotton really wants to die the first week, especially when it's wet. Can you talk about
first month?
So especially all the seedling diseases and things that we can come up with that tend to be, in my understanding, enhanced with cool, wet soils.
Yes.
Can you kind of dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I'd really think about is thrips pressure. That was probably what I would touch on the most. With these cool, wet conditions, cotton's not going to be growing as fast. And usually most seed has seed treatment on that'll protect you against thrips for somewhere around 14 days. But after that window of protection, then thrips are, they can be devastating. And so what I suggest folks do is get out and start looking at your cotton, if you can get in the fields, and making sure that you're checking for thrips, scouting for thrips. It's basically, your threshold is 1 thrips per true leaf. And then up to 5 true leaves is when you don't have to spray for thrips anymore. You don't really have to worry about that. But that would probably be what I would be worried about now. And then also making sure you are scouting for weeds. All this rain is going to break our pre's a lot faster than if we didn't have, so much rain. And so that was something that I would also think about, is making sure we're checking our weeds, spraying our early post, putting another residual in the tank with our early post to try to kind of keep the fields clean while that cotton is still small, keep competition down with those weeds, making sure that we're giving it the best head start that we can, because like Brian said, cotton just loves to die, especially when it's small. So
what a crop, it lives to die.
Yes.
But I think
you can't kill it.
Once you get past a month, you can't kill the crop.
Yeah.
So it's a fighter.
And then you have stocks for a year that you can't get through.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm working out math in my head. So.
I see the steam. I was like, okay, is Josh working on something amazing?
I gotta say, the math that went into the episode with Tenek, that was amazing. Whenever you guys were trying to figure out metrics to tons and yields and hectares and all of that, and I'm like, wow. Some of it was correct, and that's
Just a little bit.
You just have to, in our position, you just have to pretend like it's all correct.
Right,
Most people don't know the difference when you say numbers.
Just say it with confidence.
yeah, oh yeah, I've experienced that quite a bit too. So we're kind of working sideways through this interview here.
Sure.
You've been introduced. We've talked about the crop. Give us your background. Where have you been?
Yeah.
We'll see what direction the interview goes after that. But,
Sure.
but give us kind of your background. I learned that you're from Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I grew up in Northeast Iowa. My grandparents farmed in Northwest Illinois, and so that's kind of how I got into the ag world, was through them. And then I got my undergrad and my master's from Texas A&M in College Station. And while I was there, I was a student worker for the Cotton Extension program as an undergrad, and then I got my master's with an extension agronomist out of San Angelo, but worked closely with the Cotton Extension program through my master's, and then came up to Oklahoma and earned my PhD under Dr. Todd Bauman.
Right.
So that's how I got here.
So growing up in Iowa, the fertile ground of the utopian grain land. Why would you? What was the draw with cotton? That seems like a different type of plant altogether in a different system.
Yes, yeah. So actually, I had never seen a cotton plant until I got to A&M, and my first semester I took a class that it was kind of an unstructured class, but it was basically they turned the students loose to come up with a research project. And that year, that field happened to be in cotton. And so we went out, and all the professor said was, observe the plant and make some notes.
How cool.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that was kind of how I got introduced to cotton. And then the student worker position opened up with the Cotton Extension program. And I applied for it, and I got it. And I mean, it's just kind of been history ever since. It was just really interesting to me that really a fiber like that, it's something that we make our clothing out of, comes from a plant,
right?
And so that was just what was so interesting to me. And cotton is a very challenging crop, and I think that's why I stay so intrigued with it, is because as soon as you think you know the crop, you don't. Right. It'll tell you know nothing. And so every year is a new game, and so I think that's why I really enjoy working in cotton.
So what are some of the things that you're working on in your program or looking forward to in the cotton industry coming in? The challenges that you're looking at, and some of the stuff going forward that you're looking at?
Mm-hmm. So last year was actually my first year as the cotton specialist here at OSU. Really, I focused a lot on variety trials or race trials. That was kind of my main focus, just kind of getting to know producers, working with producers on those variety trials, and then I was pregnant last year, and so I had my baby right before harvest season, and so I was kind of out for a while. But this year, kind of same thing, focusing on those variety trials during the summer, and then I really wanted to hit harvest aid trials hard, harvest aid demos, things like that this fall. That was kind of something that I was going to implement in this year, and then moving forward, it's just kind of the experience that I'm gathering, the things that we're facing, the challenges that we face here in Oklahoma. I want to do some more work with maybe looking into maybe some skip row pattern or some plant population studies, things like that, to see cotton is a hard crop to make money in. And so where can we cut costs? And so that's kind of what I'm thinking, maybe next year, kind of implementing some of that stuff into our program. But really, I just want to keep it relevant to what producers need and making sure that our trials are visible. And so, that's kind of the foreground is kind of, or the background, that's kind of where we're coming from. And then looking forward is just kind of where can we cut costs and not cause a problem. I'm big on like Josh was talking about earlier, we need residual herbicides.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we should skimp there, but where can we skimp? And that's kind of one of the things that I want to look into.
So you talked about race trials, variety trials. What are the difference?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, really, they're kind of the same. So race trials and variety trials, it's just basically looking at different varieties. Sometimes I'll call a variety trial, if I'm just looking at one company, sometimes I'll just call that a variety trial. I do have trials like that throughout the state where you can only grow 2,4-D tolerant cotton, so that's your phytogen cottons, and so that's all that'll be in that trial is different phytogen varieties. And then, to me, in my understanding, a true race trial is looking at different companies, comparing different companies, and so.
It's so intriguing.
Specialists
Cotton
just want to be different.
Yeah, they always confuse me with race, because you go to any other crop and it's a variety trial is only when you have all the companies.
Yeah.
Like a demo is when you only have one company.
Yeah.
A true variety trial has all the companies. And cotton, folks,
See, and I had it under the understation that a demo variety trial they called a race trial
Yeah.
versus. I was
wrong.
confused by all of it.
I did too.
To me, a demo trial would be more of like a strip trial. So a race trial is replicated. That's what the R stands for in race, is replicated. And so, yeah, a demo trial to me would be just a strip trial. If we're just planting one strip, which we do have one of those this year on the station in Altus. But anyways, yeah, you're just planting one strip.
for 15 years, I thought race trials were strips.
I did too.
Well, they
I
are
did.
large strips,
They're
but they're
Non-replicated. No,
replicated.
I always thought race was non-replicated because it wasn't a trial.
There's no
It wasn't
use in it.
replicated. For 50, no. So I first heard about race in 2004. So I'm going on 21 years now of thinking a race trial was an unreplicated variety demo.
Yeah, no, they're replicated. So.
The more you know.
That rainbow.
Starred
We
rainbow.
need that starred rainbow.
So we talked about Tunica a little bit earlier. We released that podcast a couple weeks ago. So she talked a lot about cotton in Australia. So my question is, from a physiology standpoint, they're growing several more tons of cotton than we are. So what is that threshold that we're not hitting that? Because you'd think Australia, so you'd think water, but then you think Australia, and she talked about how it's all drought. So it's like,
Humid.
What are we missing?
Yes. Well, so that's a really good question. I have a good friend who's a cotton consultant in Australia. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I don't know if it's the heat units that they can accumulate. I really don't know why they can grow so much, more or yield so much higher than we can here. If it's the heat units they're accumulating, I do know that they don't have all of the herbicide technologies that we have here. I do know that. And so you would think that would maybe hinder them a little bit as far as their yield potential. But I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer. But to me, it might. I don't know though.
Humidity, but like the Corpus area grows cotton, and they don't.
No,
grow
I'm not
as
saying
much
that
as
that was why.
Australia
I'm
does,
just saying it's really weird. Tunica talks drought, like it's just rye.
Yeah.
But then conversations, she's talking about the humidity of it. I'm like, you're in a
Is it
desert
really humid?
Well, they're right on the coast.
coast.
And so the humidity goes probably about 40 miles in, then goes to true desert.
Yeah.
But
it amazed me on how. She talked about how much cotton yield, and then I'm sitting here and it's like, why can't we grow that much?
Yeah.
You were trying to calculate that, weren't you?
Brian's doing it in his head. I'm sitting over here on my phone trying to do some back
That's where the
calculations.
smoke came in.
you're more precise.
Yeah, so it amazed me because, like, even back when I was in Louisiana.
Sorry. Right.
Even when I was back in Louisiana, we cut a 5-bale crop, and it was like, oh, this is the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
But
that's another day in Australia.
yeah, that's an off year in Australia.
Yeah.
So it's like, and we always used to say in Louisiana, because the nighttime temperatures were still so high that we never had that full potential.
Yes.
But then you go out to Lubbock, they got artificial rain happening all the time. Nighttime temperatures are really cool, but they still can't get Australia cotton. So it amazes me, and I've been thinking about that ever since. So
Well,
I don't know what it is.
After we get off here, we can call my friend. That's the consultant there. She's been doing
Why
it
do
for
you
a
guys
long
do
time.
things the way that you do?
How do you do it so great there?
Well, since we're talking cotton and other places, what's the movement north? Have we finally stopped cotton going north? Have we hit the current boundaries of cotton going to Kansas? Or are they still or are they still trying to flex north?
Well, I have actually heard of cotton in Colorado.
Yep.
So,
100%.
yeah. So I don't know if we've stopped pushing the boundary yet.
Man, that pops out of the ground. It's like, pinhead square as soon as I'm out of the ground. Just come up with a pinhead.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
What
cotton in Colorado. I don't know what varieties they're putting up there. I mean, obviously it'd have to be awfully short season, but yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you think about it. Southeast Colorado is only, it's a border state to us still, so it's not really that crazy, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
Depending.
I mean,
there's a lot of equipment moving, a lot of stuff for trying to.
Well, I saw a guy on Twitter that just took it and stripped it and then dumped it on the ground and baled it up with a hay baler.
Oh,
wow.
Innovative. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what Jen had to deal with that mess, but I felt bad for them.
They were doing that. They did that
with some Western wheatgrass in there.
Oh, yeah. The whole entire plant's just.
They did that in Oklahoma that first year that we had cotton in. I know of a lot of fields that they put up in round bale where they dumped it on the ground and they round belted it up. And you see these freaking net wrapped round bells going down the highway of cotton. Like
people want to try it, but not willing to,
pay for the
That's the
money
ones that
down for a picker
exploded on I-35.
Oh,
it is.
South that year.
100% it is.
That net wrap's probably not as strong as that polyfiber wrap that they've got.
So what's the limitations or what are you seeing in that northern production, whether it's the panhandle? I'm assuming with the crop price and everything, we probably lost a little bit of acres in the Oklahoma and Kansas panhandle. What have you been seeing on that?
Well, we have lost acres in Oklahoma altogether. As far as limitations go, I do think, it's the length of the season. You're just kind of racing a clock. And so I think that's our biggest limitation up there is that how to get a crop in, how to keep it from, you kind of have to manage it a little bit, more strictly, I guess, if you want to say that. You have to make sure that you're on point with your nitrogen. You don't have excess. That'll kind of extend your growing season as well, or make that plant want to, and then you have to make sure that your harvest date timing applications are there, or, when you're going to do a bowl, spray your bowl opener, stuff like that. I've heard them doing some pretty wild stuff up there, as far as their harvest date applications or PGRs too, trying to keep that, trying to shut that plant down, trying to keep it, kind of rein it in a little bit more. But yes, I think that's kind of their biggest limitation, is just fighting the clock.
Gallons.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say that because we're on a podcast, but people are going to listen to
it.
It's interesting because the panhandle is a funny beast in that it is hot,
yeah.
and then less than 30 days later, first freeze.
Yes.
There's snow.
There's snow.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. Cotton that has a process to get from vegetative to reproductive and follow along those lines. And we always talk about grain. We talk about corn. We talk about grain sorghum. They almost set their yield potential so early. Cotton doesn't set it until much later. So a place like the Panhandle that is really hot and still might have a lot of vegetative material still working its way through, and then it snows.
Yes.
Well, that's a tough. I can imagine it's hard to almost not out farm yourself. I would imagine in the Panhandle.
Oh yeah.
Because there's so many of the PGRs and bowl openers and harvest aids that have to be applied out there.
And what
in
we
some
found,
years,
yeah. Well,
and
what we
in
found
others.
was that corn system has so much residual in, and cotton has such an ability that just falling a poor corn crop costs us yield. And if we put even a pound of nitrogen on that cotton crop up front, we would cost yield.
Yep.
It was something that you had to starve that crop and let it go deep, because almost every field has deep nitrogen. And so anybody that put nitrogen on cost themselves yield the first couple of years, just because of that extra vegetative growth and dealing with that. And so I was able to use the cotton crop, those that tried to do it for a while, to reduce the corn crop nitrogen. So that
There you
did
go.
win. I did get to cut 50 to 100 pounds of nitrogen
But now
out
they're
of
back
some
in corn
folks.
and they put 300 units out.
Yeah.
So,
We went from
Started
300 to
over.
250.
oh,
That's a win.
I mean, no, that's
A win's a
but,
win.
I mean, I imagine that even on northern cotton production behind wheat, that we've somewhat, you've at least been able to work on the wheat guys for several years, or, the wheat growers of reducing N rates, but there's still probably some that over fertilize wheat, and you probably still having to deal with that. Maybe not as not as high of a magnitude as the corn growers, but still was probably an issue compared to the traditional cotton growing region that has been very tempered on their nitrogen rate for the last several years. When talking about the guys down in Lubbock, and it's something that even a little bit of nitrate in their water, they've almost gone away from fertilize. They fertilize through their nitrates in their water, not necessarily any fertilizer.
I know at the Tipton Research Station, we don't really need to fertilize.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. We can grow 120 bushel irrigated wheat without a drop of nitrogen, and that I know for a fact.
Wow.
Just by decent water.
Well,
just by applying a little bit of water.
See, guys, we can do this. You just put a little bit of water on there. I don't know why you guys are having problems in the other parts of the state. Yeah.
It's magic.
It's special water.
So where I mean, you talked about the northern tier racing against the clock. Where is that transition? Where's that transitional zone to where we're thinking about old cotton problems and not planting dates and all management being dictated by the fact that we have a cold spring and a cold fall, so we have to do everything around these bookcases. Where in the state do we see that transition zone?
that's a good question, Josh. I would venture to say maybe I-40 south. I think anywhere you want to make sure that you're not going in too late, as far as we're not in South Texas, you know what I mean? We've got to make sure we're still planting in a timely manner. But I would venture to say, just from my 1.5-ish years of experience here, that might be where I would maybe draw the line and go, south. We have a little bit more give.
Because I always teach in class that there's certain cotton areas that plant around the fact that the hottest month of the year is July, or that end of July and 1st of August, and so you plant around that.
Yep.
But there's certain cotton areas that you have to just plan. You need to know that that's there, but the thing you plan around is the first frost date.
Yes.
And that's, you kind of have to accept this hot and dry period because the first frost date's going to potentially kill the crop, kind of thing. So it's one of those funny things that, crops don't know latitudes, but man, it does transition fairly quickly, it seems, to where we can just, keep on growing that crop and have a little flexibility on planting date versus, we have a 14-day window here that we have to plant cotton in. That's all we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of that producer, I called him on Monday just to kind of check and see how things were doing in Ouachita County. He said his little pocket, they have some leeway there. He said they're usually some of the last folks that plant. And so that's kind of, my thought process on that is maybe I-40 or around that area south, we might have a little bit more leeway.
So where, walk me through the state on what Jenny would say as the, and I don't want to say last planting date because I've kind of gotten away from this is our planting window. Where does that risk of planting go up substantially in that kind of that panhandle, north central, southwest region?
Well, kind of going off of some of the research that Brenna Cannon has done for as far as the panhandle, I believe she said it was the first week of June. You don't want to plant after the first week of June in the panhandle. And then, moving further south, there's still some, like the Altus area, there's still some dryland guys that are planting. We actually have a trial that we plan on putting in around Tipton that we haven't planted yet. And so, it's just, it's just kind of variable throughout, I guess. As far as hard dates, I don't know if I could give you hard dates. It just kind of depends on the year as far as a hard date. If we have an early frost that year, giving the latest planting hard date is just that's kind of a tough thing to nail down.
How well does the insurance dates kind of fall into that? Where does the RMA's insurance dates fall into plant dates? Are they decent? So we're saying, what is it? It's
Panhandle is May 31st.
Mm-hmm.
I believe North Central also is May 31st, and the Southwest, I believe, is June 15th.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. June 10th for irrigated and June 20th for dry land. Yeah. I mean, I would say that you could probably still get away with that. I don't know. I mean, it depends on how much you're going to irrigate throughout the season as far as if you're going to plant June 10th. I mean, that could be kind of risky.
I mean, it's kind of fun. I mean, the difference, though, between, being at Altus or Tipton and then even at Fort Cobb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, June 15th.
You're pushing it.
You're pushing it pretty hard. And it's kind of funny that, that may be the last entrance date, but we also probably get a freeze October 28th.
Yeah.
Something like that. And so it's the entrance dates aren't perfect, but they're close.
Yeah.
So are we really restricted by soil temperatures in, like, let's say south of Fort Cobb, right? So we're talking about the holy land of cotton in the state of Oklahoma, that traditional acres. Are we really restricted by soil temperatures prior to middle of May down in that region, or is that just tradition that we kind of push it back a little bit?
I mean, soil temperature is something that you definitely want to keep in consideration when you're planting. I don't think I would go. I mean, if you want to go in when your soil temperatures are still kind of cool, I mean, you need to be calling the seed company and asking about that seed lot and their cool germ. I mean, if the cool germ is low on that seed lot, I would not plant into cool temperatures. If you did want to do that, and you could maybe save that bag for if you're going to plant a little bit later, kind of mitigate your risk that way. But I do think soil temperature is important, and it's something to take into consideration.
Because going back to my question on Australia, that's the only thing I can think of. Vegetation makes crop. And I mean, that's kind of all we've talked about today, is that we're restricted on growing season, and that restricts the vegetative period. And because we don't have
that more
12 months of a vegetative period.
You think of that more Mediterranean where they're warm. It's not like getting warm. It's just already warm.
Yeah. Yeah, their heat units are already there, maybe pushing that crop quicker.
Yeah. So it's not that we don't get it. It's just that we get it within a short window, and they get it within a longer window.
Yep.
So that's the only thing, going back to that. I don't know. I'm over here thinking, just forget about me.
Let it go.
I just need to do a red dirt on location in Australia, and then we can figure it out.
Let me know when you do that.
I'm sure there's something in the budget for that.
Not our budget. You must not have seen the book.
So I first learned about cotton probably 15, 20 years ago, and it seems like there had just been a shift in technologies that kind of reinvigorated the cotton industry. Would that be safe to say? And then page 2, is there something like that coming again on the horizon for the cotton industry?
Yeah, so Thrive on Cotton, that's a new technology for the insect side of things and the entomology side of things. What I did my PhD work in was a new residual being integrated into Stoneville and Fibermax varieties with isoxaflutol. That's the residual herbicide. As far as I know, that has not been approved yet, but from everything that I looked at it alone and with tank mix partners, and I think that it's going to be a great product for us as long as you tank mix it. I think it worked really, really well to extend your window of weed-free zone, adding that in as a tank mix partner. So I think those are two things that are new, up and coming, that I think are exciting. So
say that chemical name.
That's
5
what I was
times
going to say.
Isoxaflutol.
On this topic,
you've said it too many times.
On this topic, Jenny, have you seen a shift back to conventional tillage and row cultivators yet in some of the acres where you're working a lot?
I wouldn't say quite yet, but I think it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say a huge shift, but I think it's coming. We are running into issues with herbicide resistance, and there's some weeds out there that we just can't kill. And so, yes, I do think that it's coming. I think we're gonna.
Did you hear that, Josh?
No, you're not.
Steel's coming.
I mean, but you say that, but I think one of the most fortunate things for Oklahoma cotton has been the integration of no-till. I mean, if you don't have that residue,
no, I agree.
There's certain springs that you don't have a cotton crop
for sure,
and maybe this year wouldn't have been it, but last year sure would have been.
Yeah,
and so it's. You say that, Raiden, but
I mean,
that's what
I'm saying that in a joking way.
My corn and sorghum makers are about to take off.
That's
what that means.
I feel bad for the people who are going to have to relearn how to run a sand fighter.
Yes,
in the future.
Yes, or the hoe crews. I mean, whether that steel is the end of a hoe or something like that. I mean, we're running out of options.
Well, and so I will ask from somebody that's worked down in Southwest Oklahoma on other crops, as well as the cotton specialist. We hear that Tillman County's gotten taken over by corn.
Yeah.
What are the repercussions of that? I mean, do you think that that's just integrating a rotation? It's a single year thing, or is that a starting shift just because of markets currently right now?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with how dry we were and taking the goose eggs on insurance. I think that might have been one of the driving factors behind some of that corn being, integrated into. Do I think it's a bad thing? No. I love cotton. I'm going to advocate for cotton, but I also care about producers making money, and I care about them farming. I mean, without them, none of us sitting in here would have a job. So if they need to integrate corn into their systems to stay afloat, to make a profit, to whatever that be, I'm all for it. I think it'd be a good thing to rotate. I mean, we've been that area is cotton on cotton on cotton historically. And do I think rotating with a crop like corn could be good? Sure, I do. Do I hope that we see a shift back to cotton acres, more cotton acres? Of course I do. I mean, I want cotton to be king in Oklahoma. I know it's not going to be, but that's what I want. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that. Do I think it's a bad thing? No. Do I think that it opens up new worlds for different herbicide technologies, different modes of action, things like that? Maybe combat some of that herbicide resistance. If we're introducing different modes of action that you can use in corn that you can't use in cotton to take care of some of those weeds that have been, just heavily sprayed with, the cotton modes of action, that could be a good thing. There are nematodes down there. Rotating out of cotton into a non-host, I think would be beneficial to maybe take care of some of those problems. But yeah, I don't think it's a terrible thing, but does it sadden me a little bit to see our cotton acres go down? Of course, yeah.
Well, being a cropping system, I'd like that part of the world to see cotton once every third year.
No.
But,
You can stagger it out. It'll still be a lot.
Yeah.
But there's some other things going on with cotton. You talking about the co-ops with the gins and stuff like that. So from a social perspective, how much cotton do we have to maintain for all those other things that kind of support the industry, not just the cotton in the fields?
I don't know the exact answer, like how many acres, thousands of acres we'd have to have in the state to make sure that our cotton infrastructure is still there. I don't know the exact answer. I think that we're getting pretty low. The last couple of years with the drop in numbers of acres that we've harvested, somewhere I think around 180 or something. It's very low. I think that our gins and things like that are taking hits, and I don't know how much longer they can sustain on that. And so I'm hoping that with some of this rain that we're getting, if the cotton can survive the great flood of 2025, according to the weatherman, then, I think that it might be good for the cotton industry in Oklahoma and for the gins.
I think the acres we've been harvesting have been below that threshold that we need to maintain.
Yes.
But you go back to 2008, we planted 185,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a period there, 2008 through 12, 13, that we were getting
and
way
we're losing
down there.
gins left and right.
And
we were below
then all
the
of a sudden we
infrastructure.
had this huge blow up, and there's been a lot of gins go in, whether it's in the Texas Panhandle, southern Kansas, or even kind of in western Oklahoma. But that line, you got to imagine, because we topped out at what, 600,000, 700,000 somewhere in there. But probably didn't harvest that. That's the honest truth. You probably harvested 300,000, maybe 400,000. So
I did a story on the cotton industry a few years ago, and I think back in the 40s or 50s there were over 100 cotton gins across Oklahoma. When I did that story, there were 16.
Mm-hmm.
And their acreage is down. They're working more efficiently. They're doing all of that. They're able to handle more in one location.
Yeah.
But just to go that small with the numbers, but
we don't have even 16 now, do we?
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe not.
You'd have to check the corporation.
I was about to say that the Corp Commission has all that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that had to do with the boll weevil as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
sure.
a lot of that, the gins merging or closing. I think a lot of that had to do with the boll weevil too.
Well, and that's one thing too, is the gins that we have are bigger now.
Yes.
Too, for sure.
Yes.
You go back, just in my area, you go back and Eakley, one stand gin at Eakley. And now, most of our cotton around us is going to Carnegie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's a 2-stand gin or a 3-stand gin. I'm not for sure, but still. And then you throw in gins like Spearman, and things like that. These monster gins that are definitely pulling cotton into the Texas Panhandle from western Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much for going on with us on the Red Dirt Agronomy podcast. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you and learning more about what's the cotton industry's doing in Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you for listening in on this conversation of the Red Dirt Agronomy podcast. And if you'd like to join the next discussion, leave us a message on our website, reddirtagronomy.com, or just send us a tweet. Our handle is reddirtag. We would like to thank Dr. Jenny Dudak for joining us on the podcast this week. And again, if you get a chance, visit our website, reddirtagronomy.com, to find out more information about our guests or any of the resources that we discussed today on the podcast, or even sign up for the High Plains Journal Live, all at reddirtagronomy.com. For Dr. Josh Lofton, Dr. Brian Arnell, and Dr. Radon Sherry, I am Dave Deacon, and we all want to thank you for listening. The proceeding is a copyrighted recording of Ag Now Media, LLC 2025. And yes, all rights are reserved.